This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, real MVPs, Ricky Widmer here, and I'm not joined for the first time ever on an onside kick since the Super Bowl. Oh, what Super Bowl was it? It was the 49ers versus the Ravens. Ever since that Super Bowl.
2012.
Yes, ever since that Super Bowl, I have, 2013.
Was it the 2012-2013
Yes,
Super Bowl?
yeah, because the 2012 Super Bowl was when
Don't talk about
Brandon,
it. Yeah.
Dave, and I started everything. But the point is, for the first time in an onside kick,
Yeah, I just realized what the actual 2012 Super Bowl is. I don't want to talk about it.
I cannot say I am joined with the Mark Weber. I am joined across the table, Ricky Widmer, along with Sean Anderson.
Dub them East.
You can still dub them East.
To remember Mark's memory, because he's not dead, but he is.
And
To
welcome.
us, he's dead to us.
Yeah, dead to us. But Mark, we know you're doing fine. We talked just still Fantasy Football League Discord channel. But this is the Onside Kick, the pro football podcast for MVP.
Text messages aren't called Discord channels, right?
No, I'm talking about the actual Discord channel. He's still in it.
Oh, but you said Fantasy Football Discord
we
channel.
talk about him in that, and then we talk to him in the Discord. They're two separate things. But this train wreck of an intro is the Onside Kick. Post Mark Weber edition, the first one without Mark Weber on it in quite some time. This is the Pro Football Podcast, like I said, of MVP, where we are concluding something today, Sean. We are concluding our NFL, I almost said MVP previews, our NFL previews for the 2019 season, and it's kind of like a tradition that I have you on for this one, that it works. The AFC East, we're going to go through all the teams, worst to first. We'll start with the Jets, end with Sean's Tom Brady's, because Sean is not a Patriot fan. He's a Tom Brady fan, so we'll end with that. The Bills and the Dolphins will be there in the middle. But before we get into everything, make sure to check us out on patreon.com. You want to join that Discord channel? You want to talk about NBA, NFL? We were talking WWE. There was a really nice conversation between Charlie and Pat about education and schooling and everything that was going on while Dave and I were at Disney. If you want to get in on that stuff, patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast for as low as $1. You can get that. And you can also get the MVP podcast a month early before everyone else. But let's jump into everything, Sean. Let's not let the people wait. We're going to start with the Jets, go to the Bills, then the Dolphins, then end with the Patriots from last year. And kind of to set the mold for the Jets, our first team, it really wasn't a great season for the Jets. Obviously, they were a high draft pick in last year's draft. They were 29th in yards per game offensively, 23rd in points per game, just above 20. They were 25th in yards per game defensively, 29th points per game with 27.6 points given up per contest. However, this is a team that's been making free agent moves. The biggest, like you said, coming in, obviously Trevor Siemian. Like, he's going to take the job from Sam Darnold, and that is a joke, Jet fans. I know there's some that are going to take it seriously. That's a joke. But the big one, C.J. Mosley coming in on a 5-year deal. They got Le'Veon Bell coming in. But then also
could have had
Anthony
Barr, but he
could have had
dipped.
Anthony Barr. I'm thankful they don't have Anthony Barr because I'm a Vikings fan. But they also got people like Josh Bellamy coming in on a 2-year deal, Jamison Crowder on a 3-year deal, Ty Montgomery coming in as well. The thing I want to ask you to kind of start this is the big elephant in the room, and that is Le'Veon Bell. This is a guy that many are now saying we could see the same thing with Melvin Gordon. That's a topic for another day. But with Le'Veon, having sat out a full year, now coming into the Jets, how much of an impact is he going to have in Adam Gase's system with Sam Darnold?
I think it's dependent on the Adam Gase part. I mean, we know that Le'Veon Bell's talented, and we know that he's going to be fresh. Now, it's just dependent on how much has he put into getting back up to speed. If he's done that, I think he's going to be fine. I doubt he's lost his vision. I doubt he's lost his football instincts after a year. I still think that he can bounce back and come through. We've seen guys, come back and be fine off of injuries. I would not treat this any different than an injury, but he wasn't actually hurt, so his body should be fine. So it's really just getting back up to speed and getting into football shape. And if he does that, I think he could be an impactful player as long as Adam Gase can use him correctly. And we've seen some running backs, especially in his Miami situation, do well. Kenyon Drake was decent. They had a decent 1-2 combo of him and Frank Gore last year. Jay Ajayi also was pretty decent in that system as well. I don't know if he's had this talented of a running back before in Le'Veon Bell. I think this is probably the most talented running back he's worked with. And I think the biggest thing that it's going to do is if they use him correctly, he's in game shape. It's going to help out your second-year quarterback in Sam Darnold. So as long as they use him correctly, it should be worth the $52 million you paid for him.
Well, and that's the thing. Like you said, the biggest question is it's not an injury, so we don't have to worry about that. But I know there's people out there that are like, well, is he in game shape after taking that full year off?
He's
Will there
definitely
be
not, but it's just
a little bit of a kind of not hangover period, but I'm going to call it a hangover period. And it's true what you say. They got to use him right, because this is a guy to me where if he steps in and is the 1,200-yard rusher that he was the last two seasons, 2016 and 17, that he played for the Steelers, and on top of that can add, I know 2014 was kind of a breakout passing year for him where he had 854 yards. That 2017, or no, that's 2014. The last 2 years he was over 600, so a little bit more mellowed out. That's to me how you use him right. Not only can he make plays on the ground with the ball running it, but can you use him in the passing game with Sam Darnold to take some pressure off of these new receivers that you got? And also, I'm going to say, a wide receiver core that is not stacked. Like Robbie Anderson's your number one for last year. I know Anunwa was injured last year, but Jamison Crowder coming over, that's a good signing, but it's not like he's, to me, a heavy hitter.
I think he's underrated. I think that he's shown before. The question that I have with Crowder is age and injuries with him. I know he's taken a lot of shots over the middle, and that would be the biggest question about him with Crowder. But I really like him. I think he's really good over the middle. I think he can be a great slot receiver for them. Bellamy's going to be interesting because we've seen him a lot in Chicago. He's obviously worked with Dowell Loggins before.
He's coming off of an injury too, right? With the Saints?
No, Bellamy was a bear last year.
I'm thinking Cameron Meredith.
Yeah, no. Josh Bellamy was just usually our fourth wideout. He's not. I don't think he's gonna be anything special, but he can definitely eat up yards. He can be a guy that they, in 4 wide receiver sets, 5 wide receiver sets, he can definitely be a guy they look to every now and then. I don't think he's ever gonna beat guys. I don't think he's ever gonna be a dominant wide receiver out there. But I think he's a decent addition. And my question too is just like these guys they seem to be guys with a lot of talent. It's just, have they ever hit their full potential? And you have to ask whether it be the quarterbacks or the system that they're in. Specifically, Robbie Anderson and Quincy Enunwa. You see some of these games, and they are some of the best wide receivers just like in the AFC East period based on a talent level alone. But they all haven't been able to put it together, either due to Robbie Anderson's, I think, suspensions and injuries before, Enunwa's injuries before as well. You wonder if now is the year they can all put it together, because if they can put it together, I think it is a very talented wide receiver core. It's just they haven't been able to produce. And I wonder if, now is the year to do so under Adam Gase and having a good running back to rely on in Le'Veon Bell, and also Ty Montgomery can eat up some yards and carries for you as well. And having a quarterback that's 1 year older and most likely the most talented quarterback from that draft class 2 years ago now. Maybe Darnold's not the most talented. You might go with Lamar Jackson, or you might go with Baker Mayfield. I personally like him the most. Well, they're the ones
getting most of the accolades right now.
Well, talent-wise, I mean, you can make an argument that arm strength and speed, Lamar Jackson might be there. He just can't throw a ball to a wide receiver.
Yeah.
And Baker, I don't know if he's the most talented, but he might have that Brady thing in him where he's just able to take his guys to the next level just because of the character that he has. But at least from a quarterbacking standpoint, Darnold can throw a beautiful ball. Darnold's got a great arm, and he's pretty mobile as well. So I just wonder if this is now the next year and the right coaches to take Darnold to the next level. And if they are, I think hopefully that will help the talent as well, because you have a veteran receiver in Crowder who's caught a ton of balls from a ton of different guys, Alex Smith, Colt McCoy, and Kirk Cousins, obviously, in Washington. And now Robbie Anderson, Quincy Enunwa, we talk about the talent that these guys have. It's just, can they all put it together? I think it could be a powerful offense if it all works, but it also can be a complete train wreck, because not only has Adam Gase been up and down, he's seen as an offensive genius because what he did in Denver, but he hasn't done really that outside of Denver. And you look at Dowell Loggins, I know we introduced me as a Patriot fan, but I'm also wearing the Bears shirt, and we are from Chicago, and I know Dal Loggins' history. And Loggins is a very, very poor offensive coordinator, and his teams have never had success, and usually that's important in the NFL. And I know that Gase will have most control over the offense, but I just talked about, he's had one good season with one of the best quarterbacks of all time in Peyton Manning and hasn't been able to do that since. So I could see this either being an offense that clicks and it being one of the better ones in the AFC East, or it could be an absolute train wreck because you don't have the right guys calling the shots out there. And it could be, due to a lack of inexperience and a lack of maturity, because I don't think people are going to say Le'Veon Bell is the most mature player out in the field. I don't think people are going to say Robbie Anderson's the most mature player out in the field. And Sam Darnold's still young, and you need a great leader, and I don't know if he's been able to develop those leadership skills yet. I don't know if he's a Baker-type leader yet, and I think, there are ways that he can grow for sure, and he could be, a great player this year, or he could just stay the same. And that player isn't bad. It's just not a top 20 quarterback.
Well, and with me, I'm more questioning not Sam Darnold, but the Adam Gase side of this equation.
Yeah, because, same here. The talent's there, but you need coaching. Coaching's super important.
Because you bring up the Denver thing, but I also think many people, even myself, have been like, man, Jay Cutler had one of the best years under Adam Gase in 2015, his lone year with the Bears as an OC before he got the head coaching job with the Dolphins. And yeah, it's true. Jay Cutler had a really nice year that one season, and that was the one where it was like, holy crap, like his interceptions went down. Yeah, the touchdowns went down a little bit too, but like the touchdown to interception ratio went up because the interceptions went down by 7 whole interceptions from the year before. Here's the thing I question, though. When Gase became the head coach in Miami, Ryan Tannehill was coming off of back-to-back 4,000-yard seasons. And I know you can also say, well, Ricky, look at the talent that they had around him at the time. Like, it wasn't the same that the Bears had. You can make that argument, but I'm not.
And Tannehill's also had plenty of injuries.
Well, and that's it, too. 2017 was an injury, but just that 2016 year. Yeah, I know he played 3 less games, but he had a drop from 4,200 yards to 2,900 yards. And he had the interceptions were the same, but the touchdowns dropped. Then when he played 11 games in 2018, he was just shy of a 2,000-yard passer. And the thing I wonder is Adam Gase good with working with quarterbacks like we think? Or is it just something like you made the connection? He had Peyton Manning in Denver. It's kind of hard to fuck up when you've got Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or Drew Brees or any of those top guys. And the year that Tannehill was out, who was the Miami quarterback? For 14 games, it was Jay Cutler, because that was the year he re-signed, had 2,666 yards as the quarterback for the Dolphins. So is it just he's good with a couple quarterbacks like Peyton Manning and Jay Cutler? Or is this something that Adam Gase can do and develop Sam Darnold into what the Jets need him to be?
I think the positive sides between the Gase and Darnold relationship that could benefit them is, I think maturity-wise, Sam Darnold has the ability to be more mature and more professional than Jay Cutler. I think that was something that Cutler at least lacked here, was maturity and that poised to be a franchise quarterback. And I think we've seen that a lot out of Darnold, is that he's been very mature, especially for his age. So being able to take on what Gase is telling him, hopefully that will lead to positive results. I think that can work. It's just that Gase is telling him the right stuff and helping him develop in the right ways. I think it could be a positive relationship. Again, I just worry about Adam Gase in general. I don't know if he is this offensive genius. He didn't seem to get along with his players in Miami from reports that we are hearing. He had that extremely weird press conference. So, maybe
Where's
he's just
his eyes looking?
maybe he's just a weird guy. Maybe he's just now, this crazy genius guy. I don't see it, but he can always prove me wrong. And if he does, and he's able to work well with Sam Darnold, again, the tools are all there for Sam Darnold to be a top 10 quarterback. It's just, will he be able to all put it together? Top 10 this year might be a little bit too much to ask, but I wouldn't be shocked if Sam Darnold did it, especially with the decent weapons that he does have, like the 4 wide receivers that we mentioned. They got Herndon, the tight end, who was pretty impressive last year in spurts. And again, talking about just getting consistency with this offense is going to be huge. And you have a former Pro Bowl running back in Le'Veon Bell, who's has some fresh legs after a year off. So the pieces are there for them to be dangerous offensively. It's, again, just putting it all together, which I think relies mostly on Adam Gase and making sure that he can control the players in his locker room, control the personalities in the locker room, and make sure that Sam Darnold is growing underneath him. And I could see, plenty of different ways playing out. If I had to pick one, I think it would probably be in the middle, where we see up and down games from the New York Jets like we have seen in the past. And I think the biggest thing that I would want them to do is make sure that you're protecting Sam Darnold, make sure that you have the abilities for him to make those reads and grow and progress. And then outside of that is just win those easy games. Because there was games last year, especially the one that sticks out is where Derek Anderson was the quarterback for the Bills, and they got absolutely roasted at home, making sure you win those gimme games. And I think if Adam Gase is able to do that and we see progression in Sam Darnold, it will be a successful year, regardless of the win-loss record. This doesn't need to be a team that wins 8 games and be close to a playoff spot for this team for this year to be successful. You just need to see progression.
So just progression.
Yeah, you just need to see this team work well for 8 to 10 games. If they have 6 or 7 bad games, that's fine. It's progression. It's just a young, inexperienced team, and I wouldn't be shocked if we saw that. But if they're able to put together 8 wins, I wouldn't be shocked. If they put together 4 wins, but they look good in 10 of them, I wouldn't be shocked either. I think that'd be a good sign. It's not really a specific win threshold that they need to hit. It's just about showing a consistent team out there, because they can win 8 games based off of Darnold's progression, the weapons that they do have, and then the defense. I think this defense is a part that we haven't touched on yet. And this defense could be really good.
That's a perfect segue, because the thing I was kind of having cocked ready to go when you were done talking about the offense is the defense. I have all the questions in the world about the offense. I have limited questions with this defense. And I know that people are going to say, well, Ricky, you read it at the beginning of the segment. They were 29, so they gave up, the 3rd most points in the league last year, and they gave up, the 5th most, if my math is right?
No, the Dolphins gave up the 3rd. Oh, you're talking about points? Yeah, points they gave up the 3rd most. And then they were sixth most in yards.
Yeah. But the thing is, not just adding C.J. Mosley is going to be huge, especially inside linebacker can hopefully be a captain that this defense can rally around.
That's the thing that I'm more on. I think they overpaid for his talent. I don't think he's going to be that impactful of a player, at least talent-wise. I don't think this is going to be like
someone to captain this defense.
Yeah, I don't think this is a Khalil Mack edition, at least for talent level. But I think if he's able to hold down the middle as a traditional middle linebacker captain, that's going to be the most important thing. I agree with you there.
And I also like, obviously, Quinnen Williams at your nose tackle now.
That's the biggest addition
to me. But also
Ja'Kai
Polite, who I know right now is on, I'm looking Arlad's depth chart, so if you're a Jet fan and mad at me for where I'm putting them, blame Arlad's, not me. They have Ja'Kai Polite right now, the backup behind Brandon Copeland on the outside linebacker. But these linebackers, to me, are going to kind of almost be like shifting in. Like, okay, you're tired, we're going to shift you out, shift you in. And if Ja'Kai Polite could be anything what we expected him to be talent-wise in the draft, I know his personality kind of dropped him a little bit. But to me, the biggest thing why I'm excited about this defense, they got Greg Williams. Like, the work that he did in Cleveland last year, and I know that last year was like he's the guy to be the head coach once, they fire Hugh Jackson. But this is a great thing for the Jets, because Adam Gase can handle the offense, and he can just say, go get it, Greg.
Yeah, but
you handle the defense.
But that's the thing, is I think that those two personalities can absolutely clash and blow up that whole locker room. That's a problem.
Kind of like Hugh and Greg. How
exactly.
They kind of it wasn't that Hugh clashed with Greg. It's that Greg didn't like the personality. It seemed like didn't like the personality of Hugh.
These two can be this, a replay of that as well, and that's the biggest concern that I have. Again, is just making sure that Adam Gase can balance all the personalities, including the players and the coaches on this team. Greg Williams is a very smart defensive coordinator, and he's got a ton of talent. Leonard Williams, Quinnen Williams, you mentioned Polite. Obviously, he fell in the draft, but Mosley, Avery Williamson, Tremaine Johnson has been a top-tier cornerback before. I think he's fallen off a little bit, but you could always have a bounce back. And obviously, the biggest star on this defense, Jamal Adams. Yeah. I mean, what he's going to be able to do with Jamal Adams is going to be something that I'm very interested in. Jamal Adams is a star in this league, and you have 2 stars on this team, in Sam Darnold and Jamal Adams. And hopefully you have the right coaches that can grow them to the next level, because Jamal Adams is already a Pro Bowler. He might already be the best safety in the league, but if he's not, I mean, one good year under Greg Williams might push him to that level. So I think the biggest addition that they made throughout this whole offseason wasn't Greg Williams, it wasn't Adam Gase, it wasn't Le'Veon Bell. It was Quinnen Williams. Having him fall to 3 where they drafted him was absolutely huge. I think he can be an impact player from day one. I wouldn't be shocked if he won Rookie of the Year. And with that, I think that you have very veteran inside backers in Avery Williamson, C.J. Mosley, and we talked about the star in the back in the secondary in Jamal Adams. That I think that if everything goes well together, if everything's healthy, pretty much, I think this could be a very good defense. Probably up there with the Bills in the division for the best, because I wouldn't put it to the Patriots. Patriots are usually just a bend don't break defense. I don't really love Miami's defense, so it's really between them and the Bills for putting it all together. And I think that the Jets probably are more talented on the defensive side.
And it's funny when we do get to the Bills, I am going to bring up how it's like you look at their stats and it's like, wow, defensively they weren't bad last year, depending on where they finished with
Sean
6
McDermott's
wins.
a great coach. Sorry, I know we're on the Jets.
Yeah.
Sean McDermott's a fucking genius.
Yeah, he just hasn't had the talent to do anything.
Probably the most underrated. But he went to the playoffs with no talent.
True.
I know we're not on the Bills yet.
Yeah.
I'll rave about Sean McDermott
2
later,
years ago,
but
they went to the playoffs.
Guy's a genius.
The thing that we'll finish with the Jets before we move on into the Dolphins, I think, are next, the schedule. The thing I don't like about this schedule, and yet again, it's not something that I'm like, oh man, and all upset about, because like you said, I'm not expecting this team to be a playoff team.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting them to be a really good team. So it's like, if they don't win a lot of these early games, I'm not going to be upset. It's just what kind of development do I see on the field? But I could see something where Buffalo, that's a tough game, but winnable. Cleveland
That's
might
a trap
be
game.
winnable.
No, I think it is.
You think it is?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, because Cleveland at the time is going to be meshing together their personalities.
That's the thing, is it's not a knock on the Browns. Talent level, the Browns are a better team.
Yeah.
But you have Greg Williams coming into Cleveland, where he wants to prove a point that he should have gotten the job.
Cleveland's first primetime game.
Yes. As a team this year, yeah.
This year, yeah.
Last year, the game was close in Cleveland. Baker had to come in and save the day. And I think, too, this Browns team, they might have a big head, because Baker, while he is a great leader, I think he wants all this hype. Odell Beckham Jr., we know that
he
they all
wants
want
the
hype.
herd talking about him.
I could totally see. You always got to plan out storylines in your head, like what could happen, what would be huge.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be shocked if because that's a Monday night game, I think. I wouldn't be shocked. Tuesday morning, you're leading with trouble in Cleveland, trouble in paradise. Oh, here we go again.
The herd
Browns starting
opens
off like
up his
0-2.
show. Oh, Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if that happens, because this is a very talented defensive team. Greg Williams is going to get them up for this game. They know that they can go balls to the wall because it's a bye week in week 4. I think it's an extremely winnable game for them in week 2 against the Browns, just because there are so many ways for them to overlook the Jets, which I think is possible. And you have a revenge game for Greg Williams, and you have a ton of talent out there. And I wouldn't be shocked if Jamal Adams buys into that whole hype that Greg Williams is feeding him, and all he wants to do is pick off Baker Mayfield, and he gets like 2 pick sixes. I wouldn't be shocked if they beat the Browns.
But then after that,
They're getting steamrolled by the
you got
Patriots.
New England on the road.
Steamrolled.
Then your bye week, which I said to you before we recorded, I hate early bye weeks.
Yeah.
Like, the best bye to me is like, give me a week 10, 11, even a 9 bye. Like something late in the season, middle in the season. I don't need that week off.
You know they don't pick it, right?
Early on. I know they don't.
Okay.
But like,
Just making sure.
That's the hope that I like pray, like, please NFL, give me a later bye. Because after 3 games, your team isn't gassed like they might be after 9 weeks of playing back to back to back. But then after the bye, at Philly, which will be a tough game, at home against Dallas, tough game. New England, tough game.
Loss.
On the road at Jacksonville with Nick Foles, tough game.
That could be a winnable game.
Let's see what we see from Jacksonville. Like, I think Jacksonville's going to be better than last year.
But even then, Leonard Fournette is not consistently healthy. So if he's down, they're already worse offensively.
And they don't have TJ Yeldon anymore.
And I don't trust Nick Foles. I mean, I didn't trust him in the Super Bowl that he beat us, but I don't trust him to, rip apart a defense, especially with the lack of an offensive coordinator like Doug Peterson, or at least offensive mind like Doug Peterson, controlling the team. So I wouldn't be shocked if the Jets beat the Jaguars. I mean, that's the thing is, I look at these first 6 games for them as their toughest stretch. Bills, Browns, Patriots, Eagles, Cowboys, Patriots. I think
the only place
all
we
those
differ
teams
is I would include the Jaguars.
I think all of those teams could be possible playoff teams. I wouldn't be shocked if the Bills snuck in. And the Browns, I think, are the best team in the North. I wouldn't be shocked if they started 0-2, but then ended up with 10 wins. The Jaguars, I mean, I understand where you're coming from. You picked them to win the Super Bowl last year, so you're kind of hoping they bounce back just to see like, oh, it was an outlier. I wouldn't be shocked if they absolutely were horrible again and were a top 6 pick. And then they get to the easy part of the schedule where I think that they can probably get a chunk of their wins, where they might get one in that first 6 games. The Browns or the Bills being the ones that I would think they could steal.
But then it's like Miami, the Giants,
Redskins,
Dwayne Haskins,
Raiders,
and the Redskins,
Bengals, Dolphins again. Like that stretch from the Jaguars to the Dolphins in Week 14, those are all winnable games. I don't think they're the favorites in all those games, but they should come out of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm counting wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, 7 because I'm including Jaguars.
Oh, you're including Jaguars.
They should come. I mean, if they went 3 and 4 in those games, I think that's a success. And I think that 4 wins is probably the minimum for this team. Because I wouldn't be shocked if they beat the Steelers or beat the Bengals in 16 or 17. So I mean, looking at this, that stretch from 8 to 14, that's their key stretch of what is this team truly. And if they have a really good stretch in those 7 games, I think it's a bright sign for Jets fans. And it's not really the win record. Again, if they have a good record against the teams that they should beat or the teams that they should be competitive against, that's the biggest sign for them. Because you got the toughest games out of the way already. This is now, playing with each other for 8 weeks, see what you can do. And if they play well, and if they get, 3 to 5 wins on the season, and that you have a great stretch from 8 to 14, I'd be happy as a Jets fan.
What win total should Jet fans be looking for? Because for me,
3-5.
Okay, because for me, I'm going to say 1 win early on, whether it's the Browns or the Bills, and then in that stretch, I'm not including Jacksonville, so Miami, New York, Washington, Oakland, Cincy, and then Miami again.
Yeah.
If you can get 3 of them, and I know that Jet fans are going to be like, Ricky, 4 wins again? If I'm a 4-win team, as long as I see that development, I'm happy. But if I do see a 5-6 win team, I can say, fuck yeah.
Exactly.
We went up and we didn't go down.
My thing is it's not about that's the max you could win is 4 games. This team sucks. They can only win
Sunday.
They can only win 4 games. I think that they can take all 7. I don't give a shit.
What if they go on a roll?
Yeah, I'm just saying set your expectations as a 4-win team again, and if you exceed, you're happy. Yeah. I mean, again, I don't think this is a playoff team, but it's just really set your expectations low, and if they shock you, you'll be happy. Yeah. And I think that as long as you see progression, that's a good sign. And that's all that matters. Because at least looking at a second-year quarterback, that should be the next jump. I just don't know if they have the coach for him in Adam Gase for Sam Darnold, and that's my biggest question marks is Adam Gase.
Because I'm also going to say this to Jet fans, and this draft is going to be very interesting, but the thing I'm not the reason why I wouldn't be worried if the Jets are bad enough to get the number 1 pick, because if you're number 1 or even number 2, depending on where Herbert rises or falls, if he rises to 2, then it works. The Jets could be in position as a 4-win team to basically
trade down?
Yeah, basically do what the Browns did, was say, hey, you know what?
We're not saying take him and trade Darnold.
We're not getting rid of Darnold. No, basically do what the Browns did. Hey, you want this quarterback? We've got this pick, and then you can get another draft pick for next year on top of a first rounder this year. However, I think that at number 2, if Jerry Jeudy has the season like I expect, God, would he be a huge addition. But that is a topic for a different day.
The Jets aren't a bad team. I just don't think they're a good or great team.
Yeah.
I just think that they can be a team that can give teams troubles. I just don't know how many wins they're going to get.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say they're not the best. They're not the worst team in the division. That's for sure. It's the Dolphins.
I think it might be a dogfight for the worst team in the division. The Dolphins and Dolphins and Jets are going to fight with each other.
Oh, I think the Jets beat them twice.
Well,
I think the Dolphins are a horrible team.
In the other game, I think it's going to be something where it's they're 1 game.
When I talk about win gimme games, it's beating the Dolphins twice. Oh, okay. Those are the gimme games.
Okay.
Beat Ryan Fitzpatrick. Get revenge for the 3 years he was your quarterback.
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, or beat Josh Rosen. Beat one of those guys, whoever's their quarterback. Those are the gimme games because that's a bad team. Well, they're not the worst in the AFC East.
This is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think down below, Jet fans. What are your expectations for this team. Sean and I can give ours until we're blue in the face. What do you guys think?
Can I say my expectations? My expectations for this video is that I thought I was very positive, and I can't wait for all the hate that the Jets fans are going to give us. Jets, 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 Jets.
Well, let us know what you guys are thinking down below.